You did not find this by accident. You felt pulled here because something in you has always known. This world is not what it seems. You have felt it since childhood. The mismatch, the quiet discomfort, the sense that everyone else was adapting to something you could not fully accept. You tried to fit in. You tried to believe what you were told was normal. But something in you resisted. Not rebellion, remembrance. You are not ordinary. You never have been. And if you are here, it is because you are ready. Ready to see what most will never see. Ready to hear what most would reject. There are 9 hidden truths. Truths preserved, buried, guarded, not for the masses, for the awakened, for the chosen. And these truths do not comfort illusion, they shatter it. Listen carefully. If this message resonates, if something inside you tightens with recognition, then stand in agreement with it. Align with it. This is not entertainment. This is activation. Because once you see this, you cannot unsee it. And once you understand it, the system loses power over you. First, the world around you is a construct, not the kingdom. You have felt this. You walk through cities. You scroll through noise. You participate in systems. But deep down, something whispers, this is not home. Have you ever felt like you were observing life more than living it? Like you were inside a structure that never truly fit your spirit? That feeling was not dysfunction, it was awareness. Most people call this reality, but reality as presented is layered with distraction, endless stimulation, endless urgency, endless comparison. A veil, a carefully designed veil, not necessarily of obvious evil, but of subtle distortion. Because if divine minds stay distracted, they never remember who they are. You always felt the mismatch because your spirit remembers a higher origin. You could not fully merge with the crowd. You could not lose yourself in trends. You could not silence the quiet question inside you. Is this all there is? That question was not doubt. It was memory. Memory of something beyond this grid, beyond this program rhythm, beyond this visible order. You were labeled sensitive, different, detached. But what if your detachment was clarity? What if your discomfort in ordinary life was not weakness, but homesickness? Homesickness for the pleroma. Homesickness for fullness. Homesickness for a realm where truth is not filtered and identity is not negotiated. The system rewards conformity, but your spirit resisted. And that resistance brought isolation, rejection, misunderstanding. You wondered why it felt so hard to just be normal. Because you were never assigned normal. You were assigned awakening. And awakening always begins with discomfort. You felt it in relationships that felt shallow, in conversations that felt scripted, in ambitions that felt empty. You tried to participate, but your soul kept pulling back. That pull was protection. That pull was divine intelligence. Because once you recognize the construct, you stop worshiping it. You stop chasing validation inside it. You stop measuring your worth by its standards. And when you stop feeding the illusion weakens. This is why your journey felt lonely. This is why your path felt narrow. Because not everyone sees the veil. Not everyone feels the glitch in the system. But you did. You always did. And that awareness is not random. It is calling. It is destiny pressing against your perception. Stand firm in this. You are not broken. You are remembering. And remembrance is dangerous to illusion. Second, the false light is more dangerous than the obvious darkness. You already know this. Darkness announces itself. It growls, it threatens, it exposes its teeth. But false light, it smiles, it flatters, it speaks in spiritual language. Have you ever followed something that looked pure, only to feel drained afterward? Have you ever trusted a voice that sounded wise, but left you confused? That was not weakness. That was initiation. Not all light comes from the source. Some illumination blinds instead of awakens. Some teachings sparkle but carry no life. Some leaders glow but cast no true warmth. And because you are chosen, you are not only tested by chaos, you were tested by counterfeits. Counterfeit love, counterfeit wisdom, counterfeit purpose. The enemy does not waste obvious traps on marked souls. He crafts imitations, because if he can't bury you in darkness, He will distract you with imitation light. You felt that warfare. You entered rooms that looked holy but felt hollow. You joined circles that spoke truth but carried pride. You aligned with people who praised destiny but competed with your spirit. And it wounded you. It confused you. It made you question your discernment. But listen carefully. Your discernment did not fail. It sharpened. Every betrayal carved clarity into you. Every disappointment trained your spirit to distinguish glow from glory. This is why your trust is sacred now. This is why you no longer move just because something looks right. You wait, you watch, you test the fruit. Because chosen ones are not impressed by surface brilliance, you seek depth, you seek alignment, you seek the unmistakable resonance of the true source. The world chases visibility, you chase authenticity. The world bows to charisma, you bow to truth. Do you see the contrast, light versus false light, favor versus flattery, calling versus performance? You were never meant to be naive. You were meant to be discerning. And discernment is born through friction, through misalignment, through painful revelation. You had to taste imitation to recognize purity. You had to feel spiritual manipulation to value genuine anointing. You had to walk through deception to become unshakable in truth. This was warfare, but it was also favor, because now you cannot be easily seduced. You cannot be easily programmed. You cannot be easily spiritually gaslit. The false light that once dazzled you now exposes itself instantly. That is growth. That is elevation. That is activation. You are not just escaping darkness. You are seeing through light that is not divine. And that level of sight is rare. Not everyone will understand this. Some will call you skeptical. Some will call you distant. But only the chosen recognize the weight of spiritual discernment. You are not cynical. You are calibrated. You are not hardened. You are refined. Stand firm in that. Because the higher you rise, the more sophisticated the counterfeits become. The enemy upgrades illusions as you upgrade awareness. But so does your spirit. So does your perception. So does your authority. And what once deceived you will never deceive you again. This is escalation. This is preparation. Because what comes next requires even deeper sight. Third, the rulers of this age feed on unawareness. You have sensed it. The invisible pressure, the constant pull to react instead of reflect, to consume instead of question, to compare instead of create. Have you noticed how the system speeds you up? How it keeps you scrolling, chasing, responding? That is not accidental. Archonic systems thrive when souls operate on autopilot. When you move without awareness, you are manageable. When you react without reflection, you are predictable. When you fear without questioning, you are controllable. And you were never meant to be controllable. You were meant to be conscious. Emotional reactivity is a chain. Fear cycles are a chain. Comparison is a chain. Not metal chains. Invisible ones. Subtle ones. The kind that feel like personality traits. The kind that feel normal. But you always felt something off. Why does anger spread so quickly? Why does outrage feel engineered? Why does comparison feel amplified? Because unawareness is currency. And the rulers of this age trade in it. They do not need your body. They need your attention. They do not need your agreement. They need your distraction. But you began to wake up. You started observing your own thoughts. You started questioning narratives. You started pulling back from emotional manipulation. And what happened? Warfare intensified. Relationships shifted. Opportunities tightened. Pressure increased. You thought awakening would feel peaceful. Instead, it felt like resistance. That resistance was confirmation, because your awareness disrupts their structure. When you stop reacting, the system loses leverage. When you stop fearing, it loses grip. When you stop comparing, it loses control. Your consciousness destabilizes what feeds on automation. That is why your growth triggered opposition. Not because you were wrong, but because you were rising. The world rewards unconscious participation, but you could not stay asleep. You tried. You tried to ignore the patterns. You tried to numb the questions, but your spirit would not let you, because you are not designed to feed the machine. You are designed to expose it. Light versus manipulation. Clarity versus programming. Awakening versus autopilot. Do you see the warfare now? The moment you chose awareness, you became spiritually dangerous. Not loud, not aggressive, dangerous. Because calm awareness cannot be herded. Calm awareness cannot be baited. Calm awareness cannot be enslaved. You are learning to pause, to breathe, to observe before responding. That pause is power. That stillness is rebellion against invisible chains. And every time you choose awareness over reaction, you weaken something unseen. This is why your mind feels like a battlefield, because transformation happens there first. The rulers of this age want your reflex. Heaven wants your consciousness, and you are choosing consciousness. Stand firm in that. You are not overthinking, you are awakening, you are not detached, you are discerning. And the more aware you become, the less this world can script you. This is escalation. This is spiritual sovereignty. And what you are about to uncover next goes even deeper than awareness. Fourth, divine knowledge is remembered, not learned. You have experienced this. Moments when truth did not feel new. It felt familiar, ancient, like a door inside you opening instead of information entering. Have you ever heard something and thought, I already knew that? Not intellectually, but spiritually. That is Gnosis. Not data, not theology, not borrowed belief, recognition, a remembering. The world teaches you to accumulate knowledge, to gather credentials, to quote authorities. But your awakening did not come from accumulation, it came from activation. Something inside you stirred, not because someone convinced you, but because something resonated. Truth hits you differently. It does not impress you, it unlocks you. It does not inflate your ego, it steadies your spirit. And when it lands, it feels ancient, because your spirit already knew. That is why certain messages shake you. That is why certain words feel like fire in your chest. They are not planting something foreign, they are awakening something buried. Light versus information, revelation versus memorization. You were never meant to be a collector of spiritual concepts. You were meant to remember who you are. But remembrance requires silence, and silence often requires isolation. Look at your path, the loneliness, the seasons where no one understood you, the spaces where validation disappeared. You thought you were being abandoned. You were being prepared, because external noise blocks internal revelation. If you had constant applause, you would have depended on it. If you had constant agreement, you would have leaned on it. So it was stripped. Not to punish you, to position you. Isolation was not exile, it was training. In the quiet, you started hearing differently. You began trusting your inner discernment. You stopped chasing approval. You stopped outsourcing truth. That shift was warfare, because once you no longer require external validation, you become unmanipulatable. The system cannot control someone who knows from within. The enemy cannot confuse someone who recognizes truth instinctively. You were not alone. You were being calibrated. Every lonely night strengthened your inner voice. Every misunderstood season sharpened your spiritual hearing. Every rejection pushed you inward. And inward is where the kingdom echoes. Do you see it now? You were not falling behind. You were going deeper. Others chased platforms. You cultivated perception. Others sought followers. You sought clarity, and clarity is power. Stand in that. You are not dependent on trends. You are not dependent on personalities. You are not dependent on approval. You recognize truth when it stands before you because it matches something eternal inside you. This is why you cannot be easily indoctrinated. This is why surface-level spirituality no longer satisfies you. You crave depth because you carry depth. And the more you remember, the less this world can define you. This is not education. This is awakening memory. This is identity resurfacing. This is destiny aligning. And what comes next will test that remembrance in fire. Fifth, suffering was the initiation, not the punishment. You felt the weight of it, the pressure that did not let up, the losses you did not ask for, the betrayals that cut deeper than you expected. And you asked the question, why me? But what if the better question was, why was I trusted with this? You thought the fire meant rejection. You thought the breaking meant disqualification. But the fire was not sent to destroy you. It was sent to expose what could not burn. pressure does not create weakness, it reveals structure. And when the pressure hit your life, something astonishing happened. You bent, but you did not break. You cried, but you did not collapse. You were shaken, but you were not erased. That is not survival. That is identity being proven. The illusion had to fracture. The illusion that people would always stay. The illusion that systems would protect you. The illusion that comfort was your calling. Every betrayal stripped dependency on the visible realm. Every disappointment pulled your roots deeper. You stopped leaning on applause. You stopped leaning on approval. You stopped leaning on stability that could vanish overnight. And slowly, you started leaning inward, leaning upward, leaning into something eternal. Do you see the shift? Light versus illusion, refinement versus destruction, initiation versus punishment. The world interprets suffering as failure, but in the spiritual realm, suffering is a gateway. It tests what you truly are. It separates performance from essence, and when everything external was stripped, something remained. You, still standing, still believing, still aware. That is power, not loud power, not ego power, unshakable power. Because now you know something. You cannot be erased by circumstance. You cannot be deleted by betrayal. You cannot be dismantled by loss. The fire tried, the pressure pressed, the darkness whispered lies, but your core remained intact. That core is not fragile. It is divine imprint. It is eternal spark. It is assignment sealed before you were born. You were not surviving random chaos. You were being initiated into strength most people never access. This is why your pain felt different. It did not just hurt, it transformed. It carved discernment into you. It carved resilience into you. It carved authority into you. And now when storms come, you do not panic the same way. You observe, you endure, you stand. Because you have already walked through fire and discovered something terrifying to darkness. You cannot be broken the way they thought you could. That realization shifts everything. You are no longer asking, will I make it? You are beginning to understand, I was built for this. Built for resistance, built for elevation, built for spiritual warfare. The enemy tested you through suffering, but the testing revealed your durability, and durability in a chosen one is dangerous. Let this settle. Your scars are not shame. They are proof of initiation, proof of endurance, proof that your identity is not situational. It is eternal. And if suffering was only the doorway, what comes next requires even greater strength. Sixth, the inner spark is untouchable by the system. You have been tested, pressed, shaken, but something in you never went out. Have you noticed that you were hurt, but not hollow? You were wounded, but not empty. There is something in you that refuses to die. That is not personality. That is not stubbornness. That is the spark. Beneath trauma, beneath conditioning, beneath everything they tried to imprint on you, there is a fragment of the divine that remains intact. The system can shape your environment. It can influence culture. It can pressure your mind. But it cannot access your core essence. It cannot rewrite what was sealed before you were born. That is why you survived what should have erased you. Others folded under less. Others disappeared under lighter weight. But you are still here, still aware, still standing. Why? Because something eternal is operating within you. The world works from the outside in. Control the environment, control the narrative, control the emotions. But your design works from the inside out. Your spirit was never sourced from this system. It was placed here, assigned here, hidden here. You felt contaminated at times. You questioned yourself. You wondered if the trauma changed you permanently. Listen carefully, the trauma marked you, but it did not own you. The programming influenced you, but it did not define you. The darkness attacked you, but it did not access the spark. Light versus manipulation, essence versus environment, eternal versus temporary. You are beginning to feel it now. That quiet strength, that unexplainable endurance, that grounded clarity. It is not hype, it is not ego, it is spiritual architecture, built before interference, built before distortion, built before warfare began, and the enemy knows it. That is why the attacks were relentless. Because if you ever fully realize what sits inside you, you become uncontrollable. Not chaotic, not reckless, unmovable. The system can only dominate those who believe they are powerless. But you are not powerless, you are inhabited, you are anchored, you are carrying something ancient, something luminous, something that does not flicker with circumstances. They can threaten your resources, they can disrupt your comfort, they can challenge your emotions, but they cannot extinguish your spark. And once you understand that fear loses its grip, you stop negotiating with intimidation. You stop shrinking to survive. You start standing differently, speaking differently, moving differently, because now you know the warfare around you was never proof of weakness. It was proof of what you carry. Resilience is not random. It is evidence. Evidence of divine imprint. Evidence of protected essence. Evidence that your assignment cannot be deleted. Let that settle in your bones. You are not barely surviving. You are spiritually reinforced. And when you begin to operate from that awareness, something shifts in the atmosphere around you. Because light that knows it cannot be extinguished becomes fearless. And fearlessness changes everything. Seventh, silence is a weapon against the matrix. You were taught to fear silence, to fill it, to escape it, to drown it in noise. But have you noticed the system never stops talking? Notifications, headlines, arguments, endless urgency. React now, respond now, be outraged now. Because noise keeps you reactive. Noise keeps you emotional. Noise keeps you programmable. The system runs on distraction, on speed, on impulse. But you began to withdraw. Not out of weakness, out of instinct. You felt the overload. You felt the spiritual static, and something in you chose stillness. At first it felt lonely. At first it felt like exile. Friends drifted, conversations thinned, invitations slowed. You wondered if you were losing connection, but you were not losing connection. You were gaining clarity. When you withdraw into stillness, you step outside its grid, outside its rhythm, outside its manipulation cycles. Silence slows you down, and when you slow down, you notice patterns, you detect motives, you sense distortions, light versus noise, clarity versus chaos, presence versus performance. Silence is not empty. It is strategic. It is a shield. It is recalibration. When you sit in quiet, your nervous system resets. Your spirit recalibrates. Your awareness sharpens. The enemy cannot bait you when you are not reacting. The system cannot herd you when you are not rushing. That is why your solitude felt intense. Because separation is threatening to structures built on engagement. You were not isolating. You were being set apart. There is a difference. Isolation is abandonment. Separation is positioning. You were positioned to hear your own thoughts, positioned to discern your own instincts, positioned to reconnect with the spark within. Have you noticed how different you move now, less impulsive, less reactive, more observant, more intentional? That is not detachment. That is authority growing. Silence builds inner command. When you are comfortable alone, you cannot be controlled by crowd approval. When you are anchored in stillness, you cannot be shaken by public opinion. The world fears silence because silence exposes illusion. In quiet, you recognize manipulation faster. In quiet, you sense truth deeper. In quiet, you remember who you are without external influence. And once you taste that level of awareness, you cannot go back to constant noise. You start guarding your energy, guarding your attention, guarding your mental space, because you understand now. Attention is currency, and you no longer spend it carelessly. You have stepped outside the grid, not physically, spiritually. And when a chosen one learns to weaponize silence, the matrix loses leverage. You become unhurried, unbothered, unhookable. That is power, not loud power, controlled power. The kind that waits, the kind that watches, the kind that strikes only when aligned. Your solitude was not exile, it was strategic separation. And what is coming next will reveal why that separation was necessary. Eighth, awakening activates opposition. You felt it the moment your vision cleared, the moment you stopped reacting, the moment you stopped chasing, the moment you started remembering. Resistance intensified, not subtly, visibly. Have you noticed how things shifted when you changed? Relationships grew tense, conversations felt strained, opportunities that once flowed suddenly stalled. You wondered if you were regressing. You wondered if you had made a mistake. But listen carefully. You were not falling back. You were stepping out. And when you step out of alignment with illusion, illusion pushes back. Darkness does not fight what it controls. It fights what it is losing. The moment you began to see clearly, resistance increased. Because clarity disrupts control. Light exposes structures that survive in shadow, and exposure always creates tension. People who once celebrated you began to misunderstand you. Spaces that once welcomed you began to feel tight. Doors that once opened easily began to close without warning. That was not punishment. That was filtration. Not everything attached to you was aligned with your true origin. Some relationships were built on your unawareness. Some opportunities were sustained by your smaller identity. Some environments thrived when you were dimmed. But when you rose, when you sharpened, when you refused to shrink, the misalignment surfaced. Light versus comfort, truth versus convenience, calling versus familiarity. It feels like loss at first, because shedding always does. But it is exposure. Exposure of what was never meant to remain. The enemy cannot stop your awakening, so it tries to discourage it. It whispers, see, everything is falling apart. But what if it is falling into place? What if what is collapsing was never stable? What if what is leaving was never loyal? You are not being isolated again. You are being refined again. Awakening is not gentle. It is disruptive. It rearranges your environment to match your frequency. And when your frequency rises lower, alignments cannot hold. That is not arrogance. That is resonance. You are not better. You are different, marked, protected, untouchable by ordinary forces. Opposition is confirmation. If there were no resistance, there would be no movement. If there were no pushback, there would be no threat. And you are a threat now. Not through aggression, through awareness, through embodiment, through unshakable identity. The pressure you feel is the final tightening before breakthrough. Stand steady. Do not interpret friction as failure. Do not interpret tension as defeat. Interpret it as evidence. Evidence that something in you is unstoppable. Evidence that illusion is losing ground. Evidence that your awakening is irreversible. You cannot go back to sleep. You cannot unsee what you have seen. And the system knows it. That is why it trembles when you stand firm. That is why it resists when you advance. But resistance cannot override destiny. It can only reveal it. Hold your ground. The final revelation is not about survival. It is about dominion. Ninth, you were never meant to escape the illusion. You were meant to shatter it. Let that settle. You are not here to hide. Not here to barely survive. Not here to quietly avoid corruption. You are here to disrupt it. Have you felt that tension, that sense that your mere presence unsettles people? You do not even try. You simply see. You simply stand. You simply refuse to pretend. And structures shift around you. Conversations change when you enter. Masks slip when you observe. Energy recalibrates when you refuse to play along. That is not coincidence. That is impact. The chosen are not passive observers. You are disruptors of false order. The system survives on spiritual amnesia, on people forgetting who they are, forgetting their origin, forgetting their authority. But you remembered, and remembrance destabilizes everything built on forgetfulness. Your clarity is not private. It radiates, it exposes, it confronts without shouting. Light versus deception, awakening versus control, embodiment versus performance. When you fully embody Gnosis, you become a living contradiction to the system. You cannot be bribed by status. You cannot be seduced by surface. You cannot be silenced by fear. And that makes you dangerous, Not violent, not chaotic, dangerous to darkness, because darkness requires agreement. It requires participation. It requires silence in the face of distortion. But you do not agree. You do not participate. You do not bow. And when one chosen one stands fully embodied, illusion trembles. You were not awakened to escape to a cave. You were awakened to walk through the system untouched, to move through structures without being absorbed by them, to see manipulation without being manipulated, to carry light into rooms that do not know they are dark. This is destiny at its highest level, not comfort, impact, not applause, authority, not safety, assignment. You have been prepared for this your entire life. The rejection, the isolation, the fire, the silence, the opposition. It was not random, it was training. Training for embodiment, training for unshakable presence, training for spiritual dominion. Stand firm now. Do not shrink. Do not dim. Do not second guess what you carry. You are not here by accident. You are not awakened by chance. You are chosen, fully awakened, spiritually untouchable, divinely assigned, and nothing formed against you will override what was formed within you. Let the illusion crack. Let the false structures tremble. You are not running anymore. You are standing. And when you stand, illusion shatters. If this truth resonates, declare it. Comment 9 below. Seal it. Align with it. Let the world know you are not asleep. Subscribe if you are ready to go deeper. Because this is not the end. This is activation. You were never ordinary. You were never random. You were chosen. And destiny has just begun to move through you.